A YouTube ad has made me viscerally unhappy. Part of me hopes that one day I'll be monetized, so the one I can be talking about is the one that immediately precedes my video. I feel like that'd be incredible meta storytelling. But what really frustrated me was I was watching a ad for a writing service wherein two corporate individuals, are having an argument that they are filtering through generative text. And I'm not a massive fan of that, personally. I was perusing someone's comment section, and the topic of the video in and of itself was about AI-generated thumbnails, and how generally that leads to an idea of low-quality text-to-speech, possibly the content in and of itself written by AI. And somebody wrote, why would I bother listening to or reading something that nobody even bothered to write? And I thought that was fantastic. That was a fire line. If you want to take credit for that in my chat, just do so and I'll pin you. I'll cross-reference and I'll pin you. But so yeah, there's already the frustrating idea of having something you want to say and not being able to communicate it, and rather than learning how to communicate, learning how to utilize words in a sequence that is both legible, understandable, people are really giving up autonomy, giving up the ability to flavor and control what they say for the sake of what? Social harmony? I'm not a great enemy of social harmony. I do love it when people get along, but within the context of a corporate office, right? These two people are at each other's throats, at least by the conceit of this ad, and are utilizing this generative text tool in order to bridge that space so they can get work done. But doesn't that reduce the efficacy of the text in of itself? Because how can they be so sure? It's a lot of trust you're putting into something to have it speak for you. It's a game of telephone. No matter how sophisticated the first person you tell something to, there's something that's going to be lost in translation. And sure it is convenient to not have to think for yourself and write for yourself and place something down for yourself, but what's left? There's this concept that's floated around for a while. It's called the dead internet hypothesis, theory, assumption. It postulates that the majority of internet content is not actually people anymore. That 99% of the content that you see online nowadays is robot algorithms going at each other after having learned of humans and essentially mocking and emulating their behavior. And if you've ever looked at somebody on Twitter or on YouTube or on TikTok and thought, this must be an NPC, you might not be wrong. You might not be entirely incorrect. That is not the case. Unfortunately for us, we still have to rub shoulders and interact and schmooze. But I think we're coming to the state where we're beginning to approach it, and that scares me. I'd like to think that there's an argument put out wherein as long as people want something authentic, people will reach for real people to make things. But I'm not sure if I trust that. I'm not sure if I feel like it doesn't strike on the point. By electing to use this service, this generative text service, you are electing to say good enough. And what if it isn't? If it's good enough for you, if it's good enough for the other person, I suppose that's fine. Somebody else commented on Our Writer's a Dying Breed that people aren't really learning how to write anymore. And they don't need to. They have ChatGPT and all that stuff. But it's English as a course has never been about the text. Well, if you proceed into literature and literary theory, then perhaps yes. But More than anything, the reason why English is a tangible, important part of a curriculum, and why you're not only being taught STEM and history and science, is because English is meant to teach you synthesis. It's meant to teach you how to communicate a thought, how to put it in words that more than one person is going to understand. And sure, we're cordoned off into rules of Purdue OWL and ALA and other formats and such, but it's like learning a language. And considering that most Americans can only speak one language, or even half of that, provided their lack of experience with English, what's going to happen when you need to say something and nobody else can read it, no one else can understand it? It's scary. It's horror to me. And I suppose that'll make people like me more valuable in the future if in 5-10 years we entertain a total recall-esque state wherein most people aren't familiar with enough of the bare minimum that we hire thinkers and writers. This doesn't sound bad. Maybe we should completely regress. Maybe we should fall into a state wherein nobody, except for the elite thinkers, know how to write anymore. That's cynical. I would never, at least I hope I would never, doom the world to a less colorful, much more beige future just so I can get financial security. I think that's what I'm worried about. I think what I'm worried about is that the oncoming future that we're about to entertain, while we have a whole bunch of people who still love to write, I was actually really heartwarmed when I saw how many people saw my video and were aghast. Wait, no, I'm still a reader. I'm still a writer. I've been meaning to write fiction on recently. I've been meaning to do this and that. And I was like, huh, oh, they still exist. Maybe this is the lesson. Maybe I should be more hopeful, because if you can look at this as some kind of like video/writing essay, this kind of journaling thing, an exercise in writing and thinking and putting down words legibly, and there are people out there listening to them and going, huh, interesting. And aside of the long pauses, which I cut out, and the filler words, I'm learning in public how to be even better a speaker, and I hope that that models what you're supposed to do instead of relying on generative text. Ding, 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 10 minutes.